Good morning, members. I now call the order meeting of the subcommittee on issues relating to the support of persons with disabilities. Thank you, members, for your support for me to become the chairman. As for the deputy chairman, there is just one nomination. That's Dr. Teck Chi Yuen. The nomination was made by me and seconded by Reverend Peter Kuhn. So any objection? No, then congratulations, Dr. Teck, for being elected the deputy chairman of the subcommittee. Item 2 on the agenda, applications for late membership. Mr. Andrew LAM sent a letter to the Secretary on the 4th of June 2024 indicating his wish to join the subcommittee. The letter is paper number CB bracket 2826/2024 bracket 01 in accordance with House Rule number 23B. Members' agreement is needed to accept late application for membership. Any objection from members? No. Then we welcome Mr. Andrew LAM for joining the subcommittee. Next item: schedule of meetings and items for discussion. Members, do you wish to make any suggestions on the items for discussion? 4 members, Mr. Bill Tang, Mr. Vincent Zhang, Dr. Teck Chi Yuen, Ms. Lillian Kwong, and Ms. Doreen Kong would like to speak, so 5 members. I'll give you 1.5 minutes each, okay? So you could say what you'd like to suggest that we take up at this subcommittee. Thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations too. Now, there's going to be low unemployment rate, so will persons with disabilities be able to seek work? Well, that's an indicator of how inclusive the society is. So we need to be more proactive. We shouldn't just ask the administration to come and report what the Labour Department is doing or what the Social Welfare Department is doing. Rather, I think we need to review the situation in the past decade. That is how persons with disabilities were successful in securing jobs. Had it anything to do with the economy? So we need to explore that. And second point, we need to listen to different views on how we could ensure successful employment for persons with disabilities. For example, we need to consider policies and so on. And thirdly, now, since the unemployment rate remains low, then shall we consider a quota system for persons with disabilities for employment, because this is in place on the mainland for a long time, and if we think the conditions right, shall we do it in Hong Kong? And then finally, we should visit the Federation of People with Disabilities on the mainland. Because many who came to lodge complaints with the Complaints Division always suggested that they should be led by the needs of persons with disabilities. And then the Federation on the mainland for persons with disabilities has made possible a quota system for employment for PWDs. Mr. Vincent Zhang. Now, I have tabled document on the proposed terms of reference and work plan, because there's a whole array of issues to cover for PWD. So I need to look at 2 issues in particular. One, equal opportunities. I'm a member of the Equal Opportunities Commission. I must declare that. And, there is a legislation to ensure PWDs are not discriminated against. So we need to look at equal opportunities or discrimination against PWDs. Another issue is not on the list, but then, as you know, there will soon be the Paralympics, and many PWD athletes may take part in the Paralympics. So how do we help PWDs have access to various leisure and recreation activities? That's important. We need to have facilities that would facilitate PWDs in taking up such activities. Next, Dr. Teck Chi Yuen, Deputy Chairman. Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, there's a wide scope covering PWDs. Yes, the list here gives a framework, but then if you talk about residential care homes for for persons with disabilities, RCHD. Well, that covers many different types, so we need to look at that in finer details. And maybe we could invite some groups to come and give us their views. I recalled previously with similar subcommittee, Mr. Bill Tang, the chairman, called a public hearing. So perhaps we could do that again, and then we could listen to the views of different PWD groups. And then we should write to them and tell them we are starting discussion on PWD. So let's see if they have any submissions for us. Second point, in 2022, the government formulated a plan, a rehabilitation program for PWDs. I think they commissioned a university to do that. So can we ask the administration for a list of the actions that have been taken, being taken, or will be taken? So we could therefore monitor progress. And another point, when we discuss issues with the subcommittee meetings with the administration, they will send us a few pages of paper to tell us what they have done. I don't want to see such documents because we could check that online. More importantly, they should tell us what they plan to do in the future. That would make more sense. And so we should ask the administration what they plan to do in future. We would need to be more forward-looking rather than to just review the current situation. Next, Mr. Lin Kwok. Thank you, Madam Chair. On supporting PWDs, well, a member mentioned employment, and I'm very concerned about that too. Now, for PWDs, if they graduate now, some of them are actually university graduates. Their employment rate is less than 30%. They are more than capable of taking up jobs because they are university graduates. So how we could tap into the resources among PWDs, and do we have PWD-friendly facilities in the workplace, or measures in the workplace? I think we need to look at the overall policy in Hong Kong in this respect. Now, maybe it's just a 3-minute walk up a slope, but if I need to push a wheelchair up there, it will take half an hour to get to the same place. So I've done that test myself. Because Hong Kong has many slopes, so this is something we need to look at too, and we need to see what the planning is for Hong Kong in the future. Town planning and so on, and also for shopping arcades, how barrier-free are they? And then for schools, is there enough support for TBODs so they could integrate in the school environment and in society eventually? I think it's important that we review that because it's all about their employment in future. And then we need to look at the mental state of PWDs. There is not enough psychological support at the moment. How do we make sure they live with dignity and help them contribute to society? That's something we need to consider. Next, Ms. Doreen Kong. Thank you, Madam Chair. We see many work plans. Some mention support measures. Now, finally, we have this subcommittee on issues relating to the support for persons with disabilities. I don't think we should just look at individual measures. We should learn from the practice of our country. Now, there is a policy to support PWDs in our country. There are laws, too, protecting them, because our country attaches great importance to the protection of PWDs. At the second plenary session of the NPC on the 5th of March, Premier Li Qiang pointed out specifically that we need to protect the legitimate rights and interests of PWDs. So with this subcommittee, we just talk about, individual measures. Well, they're actually the job of the Labour Department. It's not our job. If we do that, we're not going to help the PWDs much. Now, in 1995, that was the only time when the government conducted a study on PWDs and came up with a white paper on rehabilitation. Now, of course, we have a law on prohibiting discrimination against PWDs. But how do we help PWDs? What policies should we have in place? There's never been such a study. So we need to look at the broader issues, including strategies. Where can we consider a protection law for PWDs like what they have on the mainland? It's not about just facilitating their day-to-day activities, but rather we want to help PWDs to live with dignity independently through policies and make sure there are equal opportunities offered to them so they could integrate into society. Thank you. Ms. Rebecca Chen. Well, yes, I see there is a work plan. We could ask the administration to prepare for all these items on the work plan, and particular on community support, where that covers a wide scope. That includes the inclusiveness policy, barrier-free facilities, support for carers, and so on. So the administration needs to give us information as soon as possible, so we could then have focused discussion. Because then, say by the 5th or 6th meeting, if the administration only provides information on community support, will be too late. And then G, education, housing, transport support for PWDs. Well, there are for PWDs that includes physical disabilities, blindness, hearing loss, and so on. So when it comes to caring for them, there are various issues, and then there may be a need to seek treatment too for the PWDs. So in our work plan, we must not leave out medical care, because some PWDs may need physiotherapy, but they're not able to get a session. So we need to discuss treatment and medical care for PWDs. And what about dental care for them? So I hope medical care will be included here. Thank you. Next, Mr. Dennis Leung. Now, I agree to the list in the work plan, but I like more items to be added. Firstly, arrangements for RCHDs, residential care home for people with disabilities. I know there is a new arrangement recently, but the government has revised the reference regulations and arrangements, so there may be different parties applying to become RCHDs. I hope the government will review the policy. Second point, for RCHEs and RCHDs, the government's recently revised the standards and arrangements. For RCHDs, in terms of the fee structure, the facilities and standards and so on, there's much difference, and there are fewer and fewer places in our RCHDs, and then there's not enough information. Now, when PWDs move into these homes, or family members of PWDs, do they actually know what their rights are? There's not enough information, so there's need to provide better information to help PWDs and their family members. Next, Professor Chen Wing Kong. Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we need to add one more item to the work plan? Medical support for PWDs. Maybe we could invite them to come and give us their views on the needs for medical care. Because apart from just giving them care, maybe rehabilitation support will help them. For example, for those who suffer stroke, acupuncture and physiotherapy would give them much help. And then also it's important that there's enough medical support so the condition of PWDs would not deteriorate. We need to talk about their mental health and so on. So I think we should add the item of medical support for PWDs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andrew Lam. Having heard what other members said, I do not have much to add in relation to the work plan. But I want to say this. I don't want to see the administration only talk about what they have done. I understand that they have done a lot, but we need to know more about the details of implementation of the government. So I think with the overall policy, I think the administration can first look at what deficiencies they have and how they can address these deficiencies. Thank you. All right, speaking for the second round, I'll assign a 1-minute time limit. Mr. Rincon. Thank you. Chair, I saw in the work plan that the focus would be on people with physical disabilities as well as intellectual disabilities. From items A to G, I don't think they will cover those with special education needs or those with speech impairment and so on. I want to make sure we'll cover all persons with disabilities. Thank you. Dr. Teck Chi-yuen. Thank you. I want to follow up on what Mr. Rincon said in the first round. I agree there should be a high-level discussion. For example, in relation to equal opportunities and legislation, we have talked about it with the administration before, but it was quite sparse and it was brief. I think we should look into it and look into what the country has been doing in terms of legal protection. In fact, in the meeting of the Federation for Disabled Persons in China, they would have high-level public officials attending the meeting. So I think we should go into the details of this aspect. Thank you. All right, thank you. It's now my time to speak. Having heard what the other members said about the support for persons with disabilities, in fact, Dr. Teck Chi-yuen, Mr. Rincon, and Mr. Tan Ka-piu and I first talked about this for this subcommittee. We want to have a discussion on the support for persons with disabilities. Thus, we had this subcommittee set up under the House Committee. We want to remove restrictions for persons with disabilities. We also want to look into policy support for persons with disabilities, and we want to cover all persons with disabilities regardless of the kind of disability that they have. So it's like what members said. I don't want the government just talk about each topic as we go and give us a paper only. I think there should be a more comprehensive approach. Indeed, many years ago, we did have a white paper on rehabilitation, but we never had anything like this since then. And I agree with what members said. I think we should hold a public hearing or public hearings. We want to hold it at an appropriate timing. It will soon be summer holidays. I think we can look at when we can hold the public hearing in order to invite the persons with disabilities, regardless of what disability that they have, to come and express their views. In my experience working in the district, for those living at home, they do not have much financial support from the government, so we can definitely look into it. Thank you. Now I want to ask if any members have any further comments in relation to the work of this subcommittee. Dr. Teck Chi-yuen. Please be brief. Thank you. I think we've gone go through much detail about the scope. And the chairman said that we would have a meeting soon. And I hope that a meeting can be held in July at least for the first meeting, so as to start our work early. Thank you. Well, we will talk about it with the administration and the secretariat. As you know, there are many bills committees currently in operation. I do hope that we can hold a meeting before the summer recess, and I want to make sure the administration is ready with their overall policy support and their focus in their future work, and I will strive for a meeting to be held before summer recess. Any other further comments from members? All right, none. We will now move on to any other business. There is no other business. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.